That's all if you want to see the chat.
Oh, I would have to look it up.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Joe. I got myself a 40. I got myself a shorty. I'm about to go and stick it. Yes, I'm about to go and stick it. Goddamn, Doc Coyle is in the house, Joe. Give me that countdown.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Get over here! Hi, I'm martial art master Daniel Pacino. You know me as the original Johnny Cage, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Reptile, and Smoke. You are tuning in to NerdCage Live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Don't miss an episode or you'll get caged. So let's finish him.
This is Anthony Marquez, better known as Kung Lao for Mortal Kombat. Make sure to like and subscribe to NerdCage Live. Be there. Us.
Hey everybody, this is Dave Niebor from Dog Eat Dog, and you're watching NerdCage Live. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel. These are great guys doing what they love to do.
NerdCage Live and gaming are a perfect match.
Shoot the J, Joe. Okay. Shoot it!
All right.
Over on NerdCage Live on Twitch, Jay and Joe go live.
Call me Bazooka Joe.
It's all about you.
Kaboom!
Playing both old school and new school games every Tuesday night. Ooh, what a sight!
Jay, stop looking at her face and run.
But she's so beautiful!
So be sure to follow NerdCage Live on Twitch.
Run for your life, Joe. Run for your life, Joe.
Running.
Run faster! Oh no, Joe! The galaxy's doomed because of you!
To scratch your gaming itch.
Oh, nice kick, Joe.
Thank you.
Yo, that's diabolical. Wait. Yo!
That's twitch.tv/NerdCage Live.
Hi, I'm Leah Montalongo, the OG Sindel. Please like, subscribe to NerdCage Live.
This is Ernie C. from Body Count. You're tuned in to NerdCage. Can you like and subscribe?
Hey guys, it's the original Shao Kahn, Brian Glenn, and I'd like you to subscribe to NerdCage Live.
It has begun.
If what you say is true, the Shaolin
And the NerdCage
could be dangerous.
Greetings, citizens. You're now trapped in a NerdCage. We hope you have a smashing good time.
You're now about to witness the strength of geek knowledge. Hello and welcome once again. You are trapped in NerdCage Live. This channel is a celebration of all things pop culture, including heavy metal, Bad Wolves, and God Forbid. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like button and subscribe and share with everybody you know. Helps us more than you know. I'm your co-host, Jay St. G, Certified Geek, 7 days a week, coming to you live from yours truly, the land of the orange, the land of Tom Cruise, the land of Earth Crisis, the land of Anthrax, of Syracuse, New York. And, as always, our moderator and trollhammer, stronger than a DK Banana Slammer. You can't stop it, you can't crop it, you can't top it. It is Joe of FallenOne Gaming. Please introduce our special guest for this mid-season finale.
Yes, tonight, you know him from Bad Wolves, you know him from God Fobid, you know him from the ExMan podcast. It is Doc Coyle. How you doing, sir?
Doing all right. This is my first interview in a while, so let's see if I still have the juice. I did an interview. I interviewed someone else day before yesterday, but this is my first time doing the interview in a while. So let's see if I have something interesting to say. It's debatable.
I believe wholeheartedly you got this. But Joe, before we go any further, who we got in the chat tonight so far?
In the chat tonight, we have Dion of Off the Beaten Podcast and Artaro11.
Yes, I'm sure everybody else will start be trickling in here. Hey, if you got questions for Doc Coyle, by all means, we'll try to fetch them best we can. Obviously, if it's on topic, but if it's off topic, we'll save random questions for the end. All right, real quick, Joe, let's promote our stuff we got to promote real quick. So, real quick, Joe, Rocky.
Yes, our 45th anniversary look back of Rocky 2 with Chris Bumbry.
Yes, so check that out. Also, it's all available on all podcast platforms. And then, Joe, this Saturday on twitch.tv/NerdCage Live.
Yes, this Saturday, we will be doing South Park, The Stick of Truth.
And then, Joe, Monday.
Monday, we will be doing more Halo 2.
All right, excellent. And if you haven't already, everybody get yourself a NerdCage Live t-shirt. I'm sure Doc will appreciate this one here. So, again, any size, any color, whether if you're a skinny booty call or a fat fuck, big or small, we love all. We go from size small all the way to 5XL. We got hoodies, magnets, pillows, tote bags, you name it. Get yourself a NerdCage Live t-shirt. You're going to love the way you look. I guarantee it. The link to our TeePublic is in every video and, of course, across all social media. Speaking of social media, Joe!
Yes, if you want to get us on Twitter or Instagram, both handles are @nerd_cage. Our link to our Discord is in the description. Become a member there as well. And our Facebook discussion group, that is NerdCage Nation. We love everything you guys put up there. No spoilers, no politics, and for God's sakes, keep it civil.
All right, so let's get this started here. So, for those who may be living under a rock, that's okay. Doc, I just want you to just tell everybody what you do, the bands you play in, all that good stuff, in case there's anybody here that may or may not know who you are. Go ahead.
Well, I started in New Jersey with a band called God Fobid, doing kind of, melodic, thrashy metalcore for, 15 years or so. And then, left that band, moved to Los Angeles. And, I started another band in between called Vegas Nerve, but, ultimately ended up with a band called Bad Wolves, and I've been doing that since 2016. Started a podcast in 2016 called the ExMan podcast, and I also, I used to write for VH1.com and Creative Live, and did MetalSucks.net, my own blog, and did a lot of stuff like that, just writing about music and politics and all kinds of random stuff. And I've also played guitar and with other bands, like filling in on tour or just rocking out. I toured with Lamb of God. Last year I was out with Ice Nine Kills for about 6 months, and playing a band called The Wedding Band with Rob and Kirk from Metallica, this all-star cover band, and a bunch of other stuff that's too much to name. But I'm just a regular dude trying to make it in this damn world.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you know what? So basically, you're heavy metal's fill-in guy.
Well, no, the fill-in is fill-in demo. That's the ultimate fill-in.
Yes,
Phil Demo.
Phil Demo, yes.
So if they can't get Phil, then I'm the next one on the Rolodex, I think.
And he was just on your podcast recently, right?
No, he was on a couple years ago.
Okay, yeah.
But since he just quit Violence, in my shows, the ExMan, I probably need to do the new one. Talk about that, but I haven't had him on a while. But I played with him at Metal. I did the Metal Allegiance gig earlier this year, and we got to rock out on stage. So that's the last time I saw him.
Nice. Yeah, dude. I loved him when he was a Machine Head.
Yeah, we played Welcome to Rockville the same day as Kerry King Band, so I got to see him that day.
Okay. Now, I hate to start the show on like a sad note, but we have to address it. Obviously, we just lost Shifty Shellshock from Crazy Town. So I just wanted to ask you: did you ever play with Crazy Town? Did you ever get the chance to know Shifty?
I don't know him at all. I saw them play at the Whiskey, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago or something like, or maybe it was even before the pandemic. Actually, so maybe it was actually a long time ago. But so I went to check out the show just to have fun in LA and get my new metal groove on. But no, I didn't know him at all, and maybe I watched some of that like what was the kind of recovery show they had
Drew,
on, like
the rehab with Dr. Drew. Yeah.
I mean, so I probably know about him as much as like just a regular person. I don't have a personal, but obviously it's very sad, and clearly he had some struggles with substance abuse and addiction, and that's and we lost him to that battle, and that's it's always a tragedy, especially when you have someone who clearly had a lot of talent and charisma and success at a certain time, and just couldn't stay on the right path to kind of come back around. And listen, man, it's especially Los Angeles, man. This is a place that eats up and chews out a lot of talented, vulnerable people, and it's a real shame, but hopefully people can kind of go back and see the work that he's done, and hopefully it gives people joy, and people can just give their tributes and respect to someone that we lost that a lot of people cared about. So it's a damn shame, and I'm condolences to his family and friends and bandmates and all that.
Very well said. Yeah, couldn't put it any better. All right, now let's shift it all the way back, and I personally want to know this too. When did you decide to pick up a guitar, and what was like, what musician or what band was your influence, and be like, yeah, I want to be like that? Like, what was the band that got you into like rock and metal?
I mean, so there was like a couple kind of key moments. I think that maybe just get into rock music and guitar-based music, and that was like definitely that when Wayne's World came out, and that scene with Queen was kind of a pivotal moment for me. And then I remember I was at this so I grew up in like the hood, it was basically all like black kids and Hispanic kids, but there was this one house where there were these two white girls that lived there, and I was living with my dad, so I was going back to my mom's house, and I hadn't seen them in like a year or something. They had kind of like turned into like teenagers, and they were all listening to and when I was hanging out, and in their room they had like posters of like Sebastian Bach and Axl Rose, and they were just like teenage girls who loved all the sexy rock guys, and they were watching MTV. This is like 92 or something like that. Okay. And I remember, and I was at their house, and I saw the music video for Symphony of Destruction by Megadeth. Yes. And it was like a light bulb moment. I was transfixed on this song and the music video and the sounds, something about that guitar sound and the vocal and it just everything. It just completely pulled me in. And I went home and I told my brother, and I was like, we have to watch this thing called MTV. And then so we just started like consuming everything that was on MTV. And from there it was, obviously all the grunge stuff was happening. But it was really like Guns N' Roses and Slash, and kind of the magnetism of his kind of persona, and the way because not only did he sound amazing, but he also like was the coolest looking dude you ever saw in your life. And so something about and I kind of related as well to the Queen thing about just really beautiful melodic lead guitar. I think was something that really struck me as because it seemed like absorbing the music, like, oh, these were like the important part of the song, right? So that big thing in November Rain, right? There's 3 guitar solos, but the apex of the song, the climax, is a guitar solo. And so something about like that was like the goosebump part. And so something about that sound it was very magnetic to me, of like, oh, how that thing gave me goosebumps, or made it feel like it felt important and like divine and like special. So yeah, that there was a real magnetism to that. And I think, once we all start kind of going through puberty and adolescence and kind of that transition from being like a kid into a young teenager, all the hormones, all that weird stuff starts happening. For some reason, I think we all start getting into music and instruments and being interested in girls and things like that. And that all stuff kind of starts to happen all around the same time. And yeah, it ended up somehow coming past a beat up acoustic guitar, and I just started messing with it. And my dad, who was a musician, full-time musician, he was a piano teacher and a live performer. And he saw my interest, and then ended up getting his girlfriend at the time to lend us her Ibanez Les Paul. And then from there, like, me and my brother both started playing at the same time, and kind of just like absorbed everything. But MTV was like such a big conduit. I think, people don't really realize how impactful that was, before the internet and things like that, where you can just, I'm sure a kid, you can go on YouTube. And
I think our generation is lucky to have had MTV when it was MTV, music television, and it's just kind of sad that it went the way of reality TV and, just all those spinoffs and everything. You don't really get the core music that we grew up with.
And just a couple of days ago, guys, MTV got rid of their website. It's gone.
Yeah.
Gone. I saw, in fact, I think it was Metal Sucks that reported it. It's just like, the MTV News is just deleted everything. I'm like, wow. But yeah, to add to what Joe said, but yeah, see, between my dad and my older sibling, God rest her soul, but that helped me get into the, that music, Metallica and so on and so on. And my dad was a huge fan of the grunge movement too. But another key moment in my life was obviously MTV, and me and my sister would watch MTV behind my parents' back, even though my parents were the original MTV kids in the 80s. They didn't want me watching MTV, but me and my sister did anyway. And I think the key moment for me was Beavis and Butthead. And Beavis and Butthead was like my gateway when they were watching music videos. That was like my gateway into the music I listen to now. And obviously, as I got older, I started getting into the heavier stuff, and that's when eventually I discovered you guys and whatnot. When that huge American metal core movement came, you guys, Lamb of God, Shadows Fall, Killswitch Engage, like that wave just came hard in the early to mid 2000s there.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's so fascinating to kind of, see things for so long from a fan perspective, and someone who like really puts all these artists and musicians on a pedestal, and then, fast forward 20 years and all of a sudden you're, performing on the same festivals, you're on the same record labels, you're on the same tours, and, in my case, I'm, playing bands and get to actually play literally with the people that it inspired me. So it's a wild
journey.
What?
Let's talk about that. Okay, Joe and I, we're diehard Metallica fans. How on earth did you wind up in the wedding band with Kirk Hammett and Robert Trujillo? Just tell us, please. We're dying to know.
Well, the story really goes back to when I filled in for Lamb of God in 2009, because the tour was opening for Metallica. So I did about 3 weeks with Metallica. I got to meet all those guys. Obviously, very kind of life-changing moment. For me, Metallica is my all-time favorite band. So that's just wild, right? That's the pinnacle. And playing with Lamb of God, one of the greatest metal bands in history, and just doing that was just mind-blowing. But then I got to meet the guys. Fast forward to 2014, I moved to Los Angeles, and I'm out here just kind of like grinding, looking for gigs and trying to, at a cover band kind of that I was trying to do, and just trying to just do the LA thing and look for opportunities and play. And I was playing with this cover band, and my drummer, this guy Ken Schalk, who played with Candiria and he played with Fuel, real like legendary drummer, but he happened to be playing in my cover band, and he was filling in for Robert Trujillo's other band called Mass Mental, which is this band with Benji Webb from Skindred and
Skindred, yeah.
And another bass player, Armand Sabalecho, and the usual drummer is Brooks Wackerman, who's currently in Avenged Sevenfold. And so Brooks couldn't do this gig at the Whiskey, and they had Ken filling in, and they had this one section of the set where they were going to do 3 Black Sabbath songs, like a medley, and they needed a guitar player because the band doesn't have a guitar player. And somehow my name came up because Ken was jamming with me in the cover band, and so they invited me down to like audition to like play these 3 songs. I ran through it, and they thought it was cool, and it was cool because like not only did the song, but like I kind of just jam with them, and it was just having fun. Did the gig, and like the gig was wild. Like Ozzy was at the gig, and Stuart Copeland from the Police, and Duff McKagan, and like it was wild. And then the next day, Rob just calls me and just tells me how much he enjoyed my playing and my approach and just my energy. And so he just like, said, gave me, he's like, you're going to do really good here. Just keep doing what you're doing. And then he kept calling me to do gigs and rehearsals and for this band Mass Mental. And then fast forward to 2019, I'm, doing Bad Wolves. The band is kind of taking off, and I'm kind of like in this new phase of my career. And he asked me to fill in for a rehearsal for the wedding band. And at the time, the band, it's just one guitar player, it's just Kirk Hammett. And he couldn't make this rehearsal, so they just needed a guitar player for this rehearsal. So I just, I learned, luckily, like, I don't know, a third of the songs I knew from Mass Mental, but, it's a lot of songs, like 17 songs or something, but I learned the tunes, I happened to be off the road, do the rehearsal, goes great, wrapping up my cables, and he goes, man, that was really good, man. It's like, actually be kind of cool if you could actually be on the gig with Kirk, because you're really tight on the songs. And I was like, what? And then, because I obviously was not expecting that. And then, he basically says, all right, let me check the budget, see if we can, make it happen. And then he comes back to me and he goes, yeah, we can't do it. We don't have the money. And I go, well, what if I pay for my own flight? The gig was in Toronto. And he's like, oh, well, let me figure it out. I'll call you in a couple hours. And he calls me, he goes, hey, if you can pay for your flight, you're in. So I paid for my flight. It was like $1,000, whatever. Flew to Toronto, and then we did like one run through of everything, did the gig and went great. And then the band played, I don't know, maybe 6 months after that. And then they called me back, and then I'm kind of basically in the damn thing. So I kind of just weaseled my way in, more or less. And, and it's definitely a wild thing, but it's all mainly because of Robert, and my relationship with Robert. And, I guess whatever I do seems to work for the band and help the band. And so that's the thing. Every gig, I always take it as if, like if I don't do great, they're going to kick my ass out of here. So I better fucking prepare and be as great as I can to make everything work well, So that's what I try to do. But I always from a place of like, in my mind, I'm like, I suck. I'm terrible. I don't know why these guys have me here, but thankfully they do.
Dude, that's next level shit.
You mentioned earlier Wayne's World and everything, and I know riding this rock wave and everything, you probably had a number of surreal moments. And I know in Wayne's World they have that moment with Alice Cooper where they just, we're not worthy. What's your biggest surreal moment on this ride that you've had?
It's weird because I don't, despite me saying that, I try not to put other musicians on a pedestal like that, because I think, I don't think it, even if it's like people that I grew up with and are literally like foundational to my, like they influence me on a really foundational level. So I think and I think it's because I've had experience being a musician where people give you compliments and kind of look at you in a certain way, is that I think people just want to be treated like people. No one wants to be treated like they're a cartoon character or a superhero. And I think, at the end of the day, it's like, if we're going to be playing together, like I need to like actually be in a space where I'm like feeling comfortable. And so yeah, you're all any gig. Like even if I'm playing with like people that aren't famous, like anytime you step in a room, you're gonna have a little bit of nerves. You're gonna, kind of like you're just have this idea like, man, I want to do well and I want to play well. But there is that element of like wanting to be a peer or be on the level. Not and again, it's not that you get in a room with Kirk Hammett like, oh, I'm as good as Kirk Hammett, or I'm as like, no, you always feel like that's the guy. I wrote the Enter Sandman riff. That's the guy. But I don't know. I think I'm very able to not look at people that way and just kind of go, I'm a guitar player, you're a guitar player. Let's fucking rock out. If I blow it and they don't invite me back, then all right, then I guess I wasn't on the level, but all these things are like little like testing grounds to see if you can hang, and it's this thing. Part of the reason of moving to LA is like, all right, these are where the real pros are. So if I can kind of hang here with these top people, and for me, it's always like not sure if I belong, having that imposter kind of syndrome thing, and then you kind of slowly move up, and you're like, all right, they haven't figured me, they haven't smoked me out yet, so But I think there's always that element. I think of even if you feel like you're at a certain level, you have to constantly be working to keep your skills sharp. Developing new skills, it's easy to lose, man. If you're not diligent, it's just because you could do something, you were pretty good, you were pretty tight, or if you take 6 months and you're lazy and you're not on top of your craft, you can lose the ability you have. So it's all the stuff is in those margins. It's in the 1% to 2% of improvement, and that I think is like what separates people.
Gotcha.
Well said. Now, speaking of other musicians, obviously we just asked you that, but I have to zero in on one specific part of your career, and I've always been fascinated by this. Now, I didn't attend this particular Ozfest, but you guys played probably the most wild metal Ozfest lineup ever, and I'm talking about Ozfest 2004. That may have been the best traveling American metal festival ever assembled. So I want to ask, how was it like for God Fobid playing that Ozfest lineup there? I mean, Slipknot headlined the second stage. You had the Judas Priest reunion with Slayer, Sabbath. It was just an insane, fully loaded lineup. You couldn't put this lineup together today because all these bands are headliners and super expensive now. So, do you have any recollection or memories of that particular Ozfest?
I mean, so many memories. It was really like it was the first time we ever felt successful. Yeah. Or felt like we've arrived. And a lot of it had to do it happened at the time where we felt like we put out our first record that really we felt was we're good enough. We've done something that we're proud of, and we feel like competes with the best of what was going on in metal at that time. So I think we felt like we had arrived as a band creatively. And it was the first time we had our own tour bus. It was the first time we had a full crew. And also on the days off, we got to do the shows with Slipknot and Slayer and Hatebreed. And so we were doing these massive arena shows and amphitheater shows, even on our non-Ozfest days. And, our record was selling really well. So we were basically, so on the second stage, it was Devil Driver, Bleeding Through, OTEP, Atreyu, Every Time I Die, Darkest Hour, Throwdown, all our Unearth, all our peers, all the bands we had come up with in the hardcore scene and metalcore scene. And you really felt it's like Fight Club. You gotta go out there and crush it, because if you don't, these other bands are gonna wipe the floor with you. So you really had to give everything you had, and it was because there was so many bands and everyone was heavy and everyone was bringing the energy. How are you going to stand out? What makes you special amongst all these bands playing at 10 in the morning? And that was the real challenge of it, is feeling all right, you're good, but are you how do you match up against all this stuff? But so there's that element of it. But I mean, yeah, when you're out there with like Slipknot and Slayer and Judas Priest, you're like, it's like the history of metal,
Yeah.
basically. So it really changed our mindset because I think it exposed us to like, oh, this is like how the other side's living.
Yeah.
This is, you go out there and for me, like my whole life touring, especially when we get to do tours with like big bands and historically great bands, is I'm like studying everything. I'm studying the way they sound. I'm studying how they move. I'm studying how they dress. I'm studying their light show. I'm studying the way they play and how it sounds in their songs. And why do people like this song? Why does that? Wow, that song seems to really go over with the crowd. What are the elements of it? Is it the beat? Is it the riff? Is it the lyric? Like, so I think you go out there and then we became very inspired by being in the vicinity of greatness.
Yeah.
Of real, because it doesn't, like I said, unless it's Metallica or Iron Maiden or Rammstein, right? It doesn't get much bigger than that, with those artists we were touring with. And so it was a real fundamental where we were like, I remember we did a show, it was in Iowa City, I think, and it was Slipknot, Slayer, God Fobid, right? And you're like, how the fuck did we get here? And we did really well. And you're like, so we're playing with the best metal bands in the world, and people like us. And we're doing pretty good, and we're hanging out with these guys. We're hanging out, and oh, by the way, and then Super Giant Ritual. So you have Phil Anselmo.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Dimmu Borgir. We did shows with it's Black Label Society. I mean, you had everyone. Hatebreed, Bleeding Through. It was out of control. So we're hanging out with these people. We're friends. Dave Lombardo is coming and watching our set and hanging out, and Phil from Pantera is like complimenting us on stage and things like that. And you go, okay, and then, then we did that. And then, we went to Japan with In Flames and Chimera. Then we went to Europe with Machine Head for 2.5 months. So it's like, that was like our graduation period to like the real thing. And we were a band that always had a chip on our shoulder and felt like we didn't belong, we're not good enough, and so it was a real, it changed our whole mindset, but maybe in some ways in bad ways, because we started to think like, we're rock stars, man, we're the shit. But, and I think it like
your chest out, yeah.
But that
how did Sharon Osbourne did somebody recommend you guys to Sharon Osbourne, or how did that come to be? Like,
so I don't know the whole process, but you got to remember, the previous year, 2003, it was still primarily like new metal bands, right?
Oh yeah, that was the movement, yeah.
And I remember going to Ozfest 2001 and going, my band will never play this. It's it's like, it was like, all, I think that year maybe like Downplayed or like Meshuggah or something like that. Maybe that was the following year, but there wasn't like maybe Hatebreed or like Il Nino was about as heavy as it got on the second stage, but it was like Salapa and stuff like that, and we just felt like, oh, that was happening, that's cool, we're like doing something very, very different than that. And but the previous year it was like Shadows Fall, Killswitch, Cradle of Filth, and Nothing Face were like the heavy bands, and those bands didn't get all the attention on that second stage. And then, so I think they saw that things were changing in terms of what people were into and the personal taste and movement of bands, and then that overtook it in 2004, and I guess we were a part of that, but we got added later than a lot of the bands.
Oh, okay.
But it was still, you had to buy on, so it was $130,000 buy on that our label, basically our label, fronted the money, but we still owe it. We have to do that, and then we still need to take another $100,000 just to pay for the expenses during the tour, because you weren't getting paid.
Yeah,
there was no money. So not only were you paying to do the tour, you also weren't getting paid to do the tour. So you had to get more money. So all those bands did that, had to spend like $200,000 of their own money, or to take money from the label. But you got to keep in mind, like, at that time, before social media was like a really big thing,
Yeah.
the impact of what doing something like Ozfest, what it did for you was so overwhelmingly worth it. You know, like it was definitely worth it. Like our band tripled in size from that one tour, basically, in the States.
Yeah, so therefore you guys got that money back eventually.
Well, the label probably got the money. We're still under recouped.
Okay.
But that record, Gone Forever, we went from selling 20,000 copies of our previous record to like 70,000 of Gone Forever, and then whatever it sold overseas, probably another 20,000 or something.
All right. Now keeping it in God Forbid here. Now, because obviously I'm a bigger God Forbid fan than I am Bad Wolves. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy for the success.
Are reversed when it comes to that. He's a bigger God Forbid fan. I'm a bigger Bad Wolves fan. So together, we're fans of both.
Yeah. Which is why we want you on. But I gotta ask, because I'm nosy. I do see there's 2 God Forbid shows coming up in the fall, and someone in the chat did say something. So I'm asking you right here, right now. Is there any plans for new God Forbid music?
I would like to work on. I'm working on some stuff on my own that I'm trying to like show the guys and see what they think. I have a bunch of ideas that I've had kind of just milling around in my brain, and kind of like stuff that feels like it could make sense for God Forbid. But I'm taking it real slow because we're not going to do it unless it's really good. So it's more, and it's also kind of figuring out the process, because we all used to live near each other, and we would
Jersey, right?
Yeah, Jersey, and then we would rehearse in Pennsylvania for quite a few years. That's where our bass player lived. Or still lives, actually. But our stuff was so like tactile and in person, and the idea of like trying to sending files and doing something that's still, like we know we can do it, but will it kind of capture the magic of what it was and things like that. And by the way, it's not about necessarily like, oh, it has to be like how it was. I think the idea, if we do it, is not to just...
Well, yeah, I would expect it to sound different. It's been, 15, almost 20 years since, going on, well past 10 years since the last God Forbid album. So, like, I think the God Forbid fans would know, like, we're not expecting to hear Anti-Hero again. We want to hear what... God Forbid now has a touch of gray. What would they sound like now? And we're all curious to hear. We curious to hear it.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, but some of the stuff, it's material I've had for a long time, like probably since when I was doing the band or stuff. So, we'll see. I don't want to like overpromise anything, but it's definitely something we talked about. I've literally it's something I want to spend a lot of time this year working on my own. And then kind of figure out how we can, as a collective, do this. Because we have, Nick Hippa from As I Lay Dying started playing with us, and it's like trying to figure out, hey, Nick, do you want to write with us? Do you want to do this? Because I don't want to how do we do it? If you're over here, over there, do we share files and then get into a room, or then we, just kind of figuring that out. And but obviously we want to do something that everyone likes and feels good about. So.
I'm just having a Jim Carrey moment right now. So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I don't want to overpromise, because it's like Shadows Fall. Like they got back together, but all those guys except for Brian still all live basically in the same places they lived. Yeah. So the 3 guys in Mass, and Jason is up in upstate New York. So they can just So their process is basically the same as it was when they were still an active band.
And Jason's also plays with Overkill, right? Or is he still in Overkill?
Yeah.
So,
but we're basically I'm in California, and Nick is in California, Southern California, and then Byron is in El Paso. So it's not too hard
to
figure out. But it is like a thing of and I'm, truth be told, I've been so busy. The last few years, pretty much since 2021, like the beginning of 2021, like my life with battles has just been such a grind. And then doing the Ice Nine Kills thing, it's like, so it's like I really like having, like I have to create time and space to dedicate to that,
Okay, I have one more God Forbid question, and then we can talk a little Bad Wolves here. Because I have to ask. Okay, now this is only I'm not asking this for the podcast. I'm just asking for my own personal benefit. And if you don't feel comfortable answering, or you don't know the answer, that's okay. But I have to ask. We gotta go back to. Ooh, I'm a little nervous asking this, but I have to ask because we never got a clear over here in Syracuse. We never got a clear answer. But do you remember in like 2012, 2013, I believe, God Forbid played a radio festival in Oswego, New York. You were supposed to play in Oswego, and it did not happen.
Yeah.
Why?
There was the stage was not adequate, and basically,
okay, I heard that too, but I heard different stories too. But
So basically, basically, like, we showed up to the venue, and it was like a shit show. And and at the end of the day, like, because the tour was the Trespass tour, so it was Five Finger Death Punch, Kill Switch, Trivium, Immure, Pop Evil, and Battlecross, and us. Yeah. And so the powers that be deemed the stage not possible, or maybe it was a situation. No, actually, you know what? Here's what I think happened. Okay. No, they did get the right stuff, but it took so long that they cut all the early bands. So I remember Five Finger didn't end up playing. Maybe Killswitch played. I don't remember. But
Janice
all of us
played. I remember that.
Yeah, and I remember there was like a second stage, and Shadow's Fall played. And I remember, because I went over there to see, and I was like, maybe talking to the guys, like, well, maybe we should play this second stage. And it was just like, it was a whole fucking, it was just kind of a thing. I remember.
And then a few months later, you guys showed up at Station 50. That's when we first met. And then, by the way, Station 58's now a car lot now. It's a car dealership now. Anywho, but I remember the first thing after the first song, Byron was just like, he's like, yo, what happened to Oswego? It was not our fault. It was not our fault. We're sorry. And I'm just like, okay. But yeah, there were so many chirpings that day. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask that because I'm curious what the F happened that day. But yeah, that makes sense.
Just got screwed over.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we're getting close to time here because of the obviously we have that the clown show coming up this evening. So we want to wrap this up pretty soon. I'll start with one Bad Wolves question here. It's a pretty basic question here, and I definitely do not want to badmouth Tommy Vex at all. But usually, I'm just fascinated at the fact that, like, usually when a band changes singers, that means certain death. But not for you guys. And DL's done a phenomenal job. So, like, were you guys afraid? Now, I understand why. I completely understand why you parted ways with Tommy, and I'm sure deep down he knows why too. But, like, were there any nerves of, like, oh shit, is this gonna work out, like, what we started and keep it going? Like, how did you guys make that transition, changing singers and still be able to stay on top,
I mean, I always thought the likelihood of success was very low. I think it's like you kind of have to, you gotta get that, maybe like 1 out of 4 chance it works out, with a new singer, because of what a big bulk of the fan base really only cared about him. And so that you're in a very, like, particular way, in the same way I think you look at Sepultura with Max Cavalera, or White Zombie with Rob Zombie. I think we were more in that boat than a band with, like, some generic, just anybody, and so I think there were particular challenges there, and then the kind of all the stuff that happened in between the separation and when the band settled the lawsuit, all that stuff did kind of irreparable damage. That it is. So it was a very, like, the kind of difficulty level I think was very, very high. But listen, all I can say is this, man. I've worked as hard as I could to make kind of sometimes what felt like the impossible possible, and that's all you can do, and there's so much credit to DL, such a fantastically talented guy, and a hardworking guy, and he's, and really coming in with at a disadvantage in the fact that he was not a frontman, a lead singer before this gig, so it's like, he had a lot of on-the-job training and a lot, and had to kind of, any mistakes he would make, he would kind of have to do it in the public eye. There wasn't like, there's so much I can go into in terms of like the factors of how this happened or why this happened, and, kind of talk negatively about people or organizations. But I think that's kind of a moot point, because you're at the point where you're at. Anyone could kind of look back and woulda, coulda, shoulda, and all this stuff. But you're at the place you're at, and speaking for myself, I've just done as much work as I can, and I'm proud of everyone. I'm proud of the records we've made with DL. I think it's I think some of the coolest stuff we've ever done, and to the point, interestingly enough, like we'll play like old songs live, or and a lot of them I feel like don't hold up as nearly as good as a lot of the new songs. It feels a lot more like us, and I think we've gotten into new places that feel better for us, and it's really enjoyable. So and listen, just doing bands, man, trying to do any of this stuff is very challenging. So I did not expect it to work. It was like, let's try and make it work, but I didn't consider.
Bro,
oh yeah,
4.5 million Spotify monthly listeners later. I glanced at it a couple days ago. I'm like, wow, you guys got.
It was over 5 a couple when we put that song out with Daughtry. Like we had a nice spike for that, so it was cool.
That's incredible. I mean, I know, back in the day, before the whole internet thing, back in the day, it was album sales, but now, I can't talk, album sales, but now it's Spotify listeners, monthly Spotify listeners. So I took a quick glance, and I'm just like, wow, 4.5 mil for Bad Wolves, but God forbid, was it 28,000 or something like that? 28,000 is nothing. That's still good, but 4.5 million.
That was more than that. What's it, God forbid? I think, is it 28? That's terrible.
That's not terrible. That is not terrible at all.
Pretty terrible.
But 4.5 million.
Pitiful. 26,000. Where are you at? Where are you people at?
I thought
we need. See, that's what we need to put out some new God forbid, just so you get these numbers. It's rookie numbers, all right. We got
so you got rookie numbers, but I'm looking at it like, wow, that's. If I was in a band and I had that many, I'd be like, okay, whatever, that's cool. But 4.5 million with Bad Wolves, like, damn, man, it's like, that's incredible. It's quite the difference, but it's still, either way, no matter how you look at it, it's incredible,
Listen, I think you can get really kind of invested in the numbers game, I think, but it's at the end of the day, it's kind of numbers on a screen. Obviously, the stuff factors in to like, how the band is perceived and how things are kind of formulated behind the scenes in terms of like what opportunities you get and things like that. And it's great. I appreciate it, but it's definitely not like, not thinking like, man, at the end of the day, 4.5 million. That's wrong. Like, I don't. There's bands with way less monthly listeners that are way more successful than our band. So it's a very cool thing, and I appreciate it, but I don't get too wrapped up into that stuff.
Okay, I feel like it's kind of a new thing.
It's always been more impactful to see people at a live show and see the actual physical body show up than seeing the numbers of people listening on a media platform.
I agree.
Yeah. Now, I do have a crap ton more questions, but we're probably not going to get to them all today. So, Joe, here's what we'll do. We'll do some rapid-fire questions. Let's talk Doc now. Let's ask the fun questions now. So, because this is a pop culture-based podcast. We talk movies, we talk video games a lot. So, I want to apply this to Doc Coyle here. So, Doc, real quick, top 5 favorite movies off the top of your head, man.
Pulp Fiction.
Yes.
True Romance. The Crow. Tricks. What slides in it at number 5? We go with The Thing, maybe? Or no, Aliens. Aliens is number 5.
Nice. I knew you'd fit right in with us. We covered those movies. We talked about those movies. So, thank you for sharing that with us. Now, Doc, I know you're a very, very, very busy man, but do you game at all? Any video games, or is that not your thing?
I haven't played video games since 2007. The last video game I played consistently was Assassin's Creed on PlayStation 3. Is that what it was? PlayStation 3 or 2, or one of those. And then PlayStation, and then played Devil May Cry.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been, but since then I kind of like, you know, I could not legitimize. Actually, what happened was my PlayStation like broke. The disc thing broke, and then I just kind of fell out. And you know what it is? It's like my relationship with video games is that certain games become really popular, and or certain game subgenres become popular, and it like, turns me off on the game. So like when fighting games became super popular, and it's like it's only fighting games, and I was just like bored. I go to my friend's house, and everyone's playing just one kind of game, and then like. After that time period, 2007, it's like, then everything's Call of Duty. And I'm like, I don't get it. It's the same game. You guys are playing the same game. Is there a point? Or are you just like killing people? Like, I don't get games where you're just like, I want story. I want to be moving somewhere. I want a journey. Okay? And then
Joe, he's one of us.
I know.
Now
I always think about getting back in because I know like how incredible these games are now, but you know,
and you got a Twitch channel, don't you? Because I put that in the.
Yeah, but I don't, you know, I wasn't doing. I would just be playing guitar and you know, like doing, you know, like.
By the way, links in the description. People follow Doc and all his work and Twitch's.
Yeah, I haven't really done Twitch in a while, but you know, it's really hard on tour, obviously. I need to properly invest in doing that stuff because it is fun. I do enjoy that stuff. But I want to do it like it's very. If you're not home for a long period of time where you could do a schedule, it's not the easiest thing to.
Yeah, no, we completely understand. Now, I actually wore this
like
beanie.
You can't do the bus the whole time either, you know.
Well, it's just
Doc,
honestly,
oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like when you're on tour, just if you don't have proper upload speed, it's not.
Yeah. Doc, I wore this beanie on purpose because we do have something in common. We're both diehard New York Knicks fans, and just. I believe it was yesterday or the day before, OG Anunoby re-signed for 5 years. I couldn't be more happier because I got scared because he went off as a free agent and then all of a sudden the Knicks signed him. So, Doc, what is the state of the Knicks? Is there a championship within reach with the New York Knicks?
Absolutely. There's a champion. If they, well, I say this, okay? Yeah. If they can somehow re-sign Isaiah Hartenstein, I wouldn't say they're the favorite. I still think you have to put the Celtics and probably the Denver Nuggets ahead of them. Yeah. But I think because the problem is if you don't sign Isaiah Hartenstein, everyone's like, oh, they got these powerful wings, Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby to stop the Celtics. I'm like, yeah, that's great, okay, but the Celtics, I still think on their higher end of the talent and the way their team works is a little better. In terms of, you know, but I think they're the downside is like Porzingis is always hurt and Al Horford is old. So like those kind of things, those being able to play 5 out with these versatile bigs is like their secret weapon, but they might not have it for that long. But so I still think that the Celtics are a little bit above them talent wise, but you never know how things break. But you can't just build a team for the Celtics. And so one of the New York Knicks' secret power was having these 2 centers that are awesome.
Yes.
Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson. But without Hartenstein, your offense is muddier, and his ability as a 2-way guy and the way he kind of runs the offense from like the top of the key, his passing is amazing. So if you lose him, you kind of lose this advantage. And here's the problem. Here's what Boston got lucky that no one talks about. Boston in the playoffs did not have to play against Joel Embiid.
Yep.
They did not have to play against Giannis. They did not have to play against Jokic. Right?
Yeah. That was the easiest championship run I've ever seen a team do in the NBA, in my lifetime anyway.
I still think it's not just about easy, it's about matchups. And the fact is Boston is not a big team. And they happened to get a run where they didn't have to play. Like, you could make a case that Jokic, Embiid, Giannis are the 3 best players in the league. Yeah. And they somehow got to do it without playing them. So what I'm saying is you're going to have to face some big – and by the way, also the Timberwolves have 2 giant centers too, right?
Yeah, they're on the rise, yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to need size. So you can't – so I think if they can sign Hartenstein, then I would – put them right there at the top of there. But if they don't sign Hartenstein, I think there's a definitive drop off. Like, because, yeah, can they run and go a lot of teams? Yes. But when they face a team with like a big boy center and you need those 12 fouls to face Embiid, to face.
I'm proud
Giannis.
of the Knicks run this year. I'm not mad that we lost. Like, I felt like we just ran out of gas. We got injured. So I'm not mad about us losing the way we did. I felt like I felt like if we were healthy, there was a chance. So, like, I'm not too, like, I mean, it was demoralizing, but at the same time, I'm looking at it like, you know what? If these guys, if Brunson didn't get hurt and,
they had no chance at that point. So there was no point. It would have been nice to go to the East Conference Finals. But
I know. I think we could have squeezed out a series win against Indy, but I'm not upset because I knew if we beat Indy, we weren't getting past Boston with our injuries like that. I knew. So it is what it is, but it was exciting. But here's the thing. It just feels great to be a Knicks fan right now because now we have hope. There's hope now. Yeah. Like every like in years past, I'm just like, we're not gonna do it. Now I actually feel like, oh my God, we have a window now. And Doc, I just want one. I just want one in my lifetime. I'm a New York Giants fan. I lived that success. I'm a Syracuse guy, so I've seen the Orange win in my lifetime. I'm a Yankees guy. The Yankees won many times when I was a kid. And of course, the New York Rangers. I'm also a New York Rangers fan. They won in '94. They disappointed me the most, honestly. They should have won it this year, and they just but whatever. But Doc, I just want one Knicks championship in my lifetime. That way, I could say I've seen all my New York teams win. So Doc, if the Knicks win next season, are you and I going to the parade in New York?
I feel like I have to, man.
I have to.
Once in a lifetime. That would actually be really incredible. But you know what's funny is like I'm not saying I don't care if they win. Obviously, I want them to win, but I just like it when they're competitive.
Yeah.
That's like,
and I think it's good for the NBA too. A big market, the Garden and the market of New York City. Like, it's good for the NBA. Let's take our fandom out of it. It's good for the NBA when the Knicks are good.
Yeah, and to me, it's this team. It's a certain type of team. It's a gritty team. It's defense. It's hustle. That's the kind of that composition and that style is very in tune with what I think the fan base connects with, and that's the thing I like more than anything. I like being the underdog. I like being feisty and kind of overachieve. That's the thing. So I think to me, like this team, it's more similar to like 2004 Detroit Pistons, or even it kind of reminds me a little bit. There was a Portland Trailblazers team. I think it was 2000 like that, or 2001 that lost to the Lakers. You had Scottie Pippen and Rasheed Wallace and all these Steve Smith, all this collection of like really kind of super kind of talented guys. So there's things about it that I think are really interesting. It's a very unique team, kind of historically. So the composition, it's hard to compare it to previous championship teams because they're composed much different. So it's gonna be fascinating. It's gonna see how Randall blends with this, if they, which I think they're gonna keep him this year, and see how it plays out.
I think we need him. I do.
You need him now.
My problem with Randall is that he doesn't show up in the playoffs. He's great through the regulars, and then I don't know what the hell his problem in the playoffs is. So.
Well, here's the difference, though. This team is, if everyone's healthy, the team's going to be so good. He's not going to the responsibility on him. Is going to be so much less throughout the whole year that he's going to have to. The reason why you need a Randall or a guy like Randall is you need someone besides Jalen Brunson to go, give me the ball, and the shot clock's running down. He can get you a good shot one-on-one or draw a foul, and he can do that better than any of the other guys that are there. Even these new guys that they got that are awesome, they're not the one-on-one type players that he is. And if he fits in the system, it'll be incredible.
All right. And I got one last personal question, man, because I just mentioned the other teams I love. Since you're a Knicks fan, are you also a Yankees fan or a New York Giants fan, or are you just not into the other sports?
I am. I just haven't followed in so long. Like, since the Giants won last, I used to watch the Giants with, like, my dad, my grandfather, my uncle, and they all passed away. So I have no one to really watch it with anymore. And I know the Giants have been bad.
That's a Lawrence Taylor signed helmet. I met LT a few years ago.
That's hard. That's amazing. And then the Yankees, I was super huge in the Yankees, like, in like the mid '90s, when I was in high school, I would watch all the games and listen to them on the radio, and that whole, Andy Pettit and fucking Paul O'Neill and Derek Jeter and all those Rivera, and I loved it. And when they won in '96, I was hyped. But once they started bringing in like Roger Clemens and all these, Randy Johnson and stuff like that, it started to feel less
Purchased
cool.
champions, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it wasn't as fun when they were like the scrappy underdog, and so it kind of just burned me out a little bit on it, and then I started getting more into basketball. So, but I still, you're always a fan of the team you're a fan of, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And but now it's been so long for the Yankees. It's like, all right, I think we can, hopefully win again soon. So.
Yeah, but there's no sports on, so I really should probably start just watching Yankee games for fun,
Yeah. No, I just had to get that out there because I know you've been, like I said, I follow you on Twitter. I follow you closely, and I always see that you talk a lot about the Knicks, and I'm like, okay. So I wasn't sure if you're a fan of the other New York or New Jersey area teams or not. So I wanted to throw that out there. Joe, we gotta wrap up. We should probably be wrapping up now. But Joe, do you got any other questions for Doc before we?
I think we should ask your question you ask all our guests for one.
Yeah. By the way, everybody, the bar's closing. So if you got anyone in the chat got questions for Doc, ask them now. The bar's closing here. But Doc, I'm going to put you on the spot. Sorry, I have to put you on the spot one more time. But we loved having you here tonight. Would you be willing to come back on NerdCage Live again sometime soon?
Sure, I love running my mouth.
There we go.
Well, we usually like to have our guests back, so yeah, we definitely look forward to having you back on again.
I probably have a ton of more questions, but I always like to leave the audience wanting more. So I think it's a good spot to wrap up.
Absolutely, yeah. I know we Joe and I came up with all these questions, and we just didn't get to them all, and it's always nice to leave everybody wanting more and whatnot. But Doc, why don't you go ahead? I'll give you the floor for a minute. Just tell everybody where everybody can find. By the way, the links are in the description. Everybody, just tell everybody where they can find you, and tell everybody about your podcast, the ExMan, one last time and whatnot. Go ahead and plug whatever you want to plug, my friend.
Yeah, it's called the ExMan. That's EX-Man, and just did a episode with Phil McKenty. I have one coming out with Phil Labonte on this week, like this Tuesday.
Oh, nice.
And we're doing like 3 hours all politics, so it's it'll kind of work. We did this a while ago, so we won't be talking about the debate or anything like that. But it's Phil's always really fun to talk to.
Yeah, Phil's very very outspoken about his beliefs. So
and then I have an episode with Chris Daughtry actually coming out as well. So Bad Wolves just did a song with Chris Daughtry out now called "Hungry for Life." That's doing really really well. So check that out. And all my social media is just at Doc Coyle. I've been a little, kind of silent the last couple of weeks. I'm kind of just dealing with my life. All right, sometimes you got to deal with your life. Okay.
Yeah.
So
it's your downtime. I get it.
Not everything is social media worthy. So I'm slowly gonna get back into it because I just get burnt out when I'm just fucking going. But yeah, you find all my stuff there, and God Fobid is playing in Brooklyn. And in Massachusetts in September, so check that out for the God Fobid dates, doing a couple festivals, and then
I will try to be at the Brooklyn show. I will try.
Dude, I think that thing is gonna sell out, or it might already be sold out for all I know. So, because the night we're playing is with Ginger, so that's a big night.
Oh yeah,
oh nice.
But then we're Bad Wolves is doing coming up. We have Incarceration in Ohio. We have Rocklahoma. We have Sturgis Bike Rally, and then we're playing Aftershock in Northern California. So got some festivals, and then we're going to be going on tour in October, November, but that stuff has not been announced yet, but some very cool tours. So going to be a busy rest of the year. And hopefully more God Fobid shows. I want to book some stuff besides the ones we have booked, so that's the idea.
Well, excellent. We definitely look forward to, seeing your career continue with both bands. And again, everybody, please check out the ExMan podcast. He just recently had the girl Some Kitty on. It was awesome. They just got put out a new album, so check that out. That was the last episode I listened to, so please check out the ExMan podcast. It's part of my personal podcast rotation, so everybody please check that out. The link is in the description and whatnot. Joe, real quick, let's just plug in our shows real quick. So Joe, Rocky.
Yes, our 45th anniversary look back of Rocky 2. Go check that out.
And then, Joe, Saturday on Twitch?
Yes, South Park, The Stick of Truth. We begin that playthrough on Saturday.
And Monday on Twitch.
And Monday we continue our playthrough of Halo 2.
And of course, everybody, please pick yourself up a NerdCage Live t-shirt again. Any size, any color, whether for your skinny booty call or a fat fuck, big or small. We love them all. You know, the link to our TeePublic is in every video, every podcast. And of course, it's across all social media. Speaking of social media, Joe.
Yes, if you want to get us on Twitter or Instagram, both handles are at nerd_cage. Our link to our Discord is in the description. Become a member there as well. And our Facebook discussion group, that is NerdCage Nation. We love everything you guys put up there. No spoilers, no politics, and for God's sakes, keep it civil.
Absolutely. Again, once again, everybody, please check out God Fobid, Bad Wolves, and the ExMan podcast. We definitely appreciate having Doc Coyle on. We cannot wait to have him back. So until then, everybody, we please ask you to like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, spread that shit like syphilis. So USA from York City, the land of the orange, Syracuse, New York, Los Angeles, California, to all our friends and fans around the world at NerdCage Live and the ExMan podcast. We please ask you to, as always, enjoy life, stay safe, eat your vegetables, do your push-ups, go to the gym, all that good stuff. Good night, God bless, and have the best day of your life.
Good night.
And stick around for our awesome Twitch promo, guys. Good night.
NerdCage Live and gaming are a perfect match.
Shoot the J, Joe. Okay. Shoot it!
All right.
Over on NerdCage Live on Twitch, Jay and Joe go live.
Call me Bazooka Joe. It's all about you.
Kaboom! Playing both old school and new school games every Tuesday night. Ooh, what a sight!
Jay, stop looking at her face and run.
But she's so beautiful.
So be sure to follow NerdCage Live on Twitch.
Run for your life, Joe. Run for your life, Joe.
Running.
Run faster. Oh no, Joe, the galaxy's doomed because of you.
To scratch your gaming itch.
Oh, nice kick, Joe.
Thank you.
Yo, that's diabolical. Wait. Yo!
That's twitch.tv/NerdCage Live.
Ooh, trying to get out of the nerd cage, are ya? Well, before you go, hit that subscribe button. And if you're really intrigued, ring that bell. Thank you for dropping by. Until next time, tell everyone you know about NerdCage Live!